Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Disney bride Hayley Hart about her ceremony at Pandora, the World of Avatar, her reception at California Grill, and her welcome dessert party at UK Lochside in Epcot. I thought you guys would be interested to hear about how she chose all these locations and how she planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Hayley.
Hi.
Thanks so much for being on the show today. I always like to start at the very beginning and find out how you and your fiancé decided that you wanted to have your wedding at Disney.
So it definitely took a little bit of convincing. We kind of started looking around some venues local to us at the time in Colorado, and once we kind of started looking at those and the pricing for everything and just kind of how restricted everything was feeling, I was able to kind of convince him with a Disney wedding. He just absolutely loves the Avatar movies, and when we went to Animal Kingdom the year prior when we got engaged, we were just in complete awe of the whole Pandora area, especially at night. And so I kind of won him over with doing a ceremony location right there.
Got it. Okay, so then how did your friends and family react when they found out where the wedding was going to be?
They were really kind of surprised, but also not at the same time, just because of how much of a fan I am of Disney. One of my friends, they just kind of initially thought it was just like a Disney themed wedding, and then once I kind of sent out the invitations and everything with the address, they were like, wait, this is actual Disney? And I was just like, yeah. And they're like, oh, that's super cool. There was definitely a lot of excitement around it, and I guess like a little bit of surprise too.
How many guests did you invite, and how many were able to make the trip?
We invited about 100 people. We just kind of mostly did some courtesy invites just because I have a lot of family and friends in the UK, which I kind of suspected, with travel costs and everything, they wouldn't be able to come. So I wanted to send out those courtesy invites. We kind of estimated about 40 people would come, though, and about 24 ended up coming.
Okay. Did you set up a room block for your guests?
We did. We set them up at All-Star Movies. We just wanted to make sure it was as affordable as possible for our guests, since all of our guests were traveling in, essentially. And we honestly really like the vibe of the value resorts. We feel it's very much like just the full kind of Disney bubble, I guess. And then movies, we really liked it too, mostly because of the Dalmatians area, which Amanda was able to get just an amazing shot at the Dalmatians area with me kind of in the TV screen with Patch looking up at me. And I'm a massive dog lover, and the 101 Dalmatians movies growing up were just one of my favorites. And so that was just such a sweet moment for her to capture for me, in my wedding dress and everything.
Oh, wow. Now, how did you choose the day of the week and time of day for your event?
So, of course, with a Disney wedding, there's going to come some cost to it. And with everything that we really kind of wanted to do, we had to really kind of look and see where we could kind of cut some costs down, but still kind of ensure we could get everything that we still kind of wanted. And so with that, we looked during the spring break time for Josh's brother in college. So that kind of worked with that. And then that was also the same kind of spring break time week for a lot of our other guests as well. So we just kind of felt doing it during the week, but on a break week was the best time for everyone. And so with that, we were, of course, able to pick a Tuesday, Wednesday time frame for everything.
Got it. Okay. So how did you choose your ceremony and reception venues? You mentioned that you guys love Pandora.
Yeah, we really enjoyed that area. We're really just We loved the lighting of everything. We loved the vibrant colors of everything. We just loved how immersive it felt as well. And then with the reception, we initially wanted the patio at the Grand Floridian. However, due to the construction at the time, we were told we had to kind of move away from that area just because, they can't control the noise and stuff coming from construction. And so, luckily, though, they were able to move us to California Grill, and they were able to kind of pull some strings and allow us to still have the menu we had picked going into California Grill instead of kind of working with the set menu at California Grill. And the biggest thing for me with the reception was I really wanted the castle in the background. And so at first I was a little bit skeptical with it because I was like, well, I don't want to lose that. And so our planner at the time, she told us, she was like, well, in my opinion, you actually get a better view of the castle. And she sent us some pictures, and immediately I was blown away. I was like, okay, this was actually a blessing in disguise. Like, the views were just amazing, and the pictures do it justice too. It was amazing.
That's wonderful. Did you guys use any outside vendors for the portions of your event that you were able to?
We did. We did photography and videography. Photography was Mao Photo by Amanda Mao. She's an amazing photographer to work with. I've actually been able to remain kind of close to her since the wedding. She was getting us sneak peeks before the events were even over with, which is just really impressive. And it also just kind of kept the excitement going as well. She just captured everything, and she kind of felt like my own like fairy godmother almost. Whenever something come up, she was just like, don't worry about it. I'm already texting them like about the planners and stuff. We were able to kind of go through the contemporary resort and take some pictures. And they started calling me, kind of asking where we were at some point because we had kind of pushed it a little bit. And she was just like, just don't worry about it. This is our time right now. You enjoy your time. So that felt really great to know that I didn't have to really worry about anything. And she was just so on top of her game. It was amazing. She was honestly one of the biggest highlights of the whole kind of wedding timeline. And then she also worked amazingly well with our videographer, Edward Miller. He owns Dear Magnolia Films. The two of them, they were the dream team. Again, he was such a hype man. He was like, oh yeah, like, you veil in the breeze. He was like, this is your day, own it. Which was it was amazing. And we hadn't actually met prior to the events. And so just getting along right off the bat, it was amazing. If I ever had to like redo it again, my priority would be bringing them both back in.
Fantastic. How did you guys choose your officiant?
So we had a close friend of ours who we just get along with him really well. And so we really wanted him to be a part of everything, and just for that little personal touch for someone to officiate it for us who we knew. And the moment we asked them, they were so honored with the request. They were like, yeah, absolutely. I'd be a fool to kind of refuse that opportunity. So we had a dear friend do it, and it was amazing. He took it very seriously, which was awesome.
That's wonderful. Did you add any kind of entertainment to the ceremony or the reception?
We didn't. We kind of felt that the ceremony, it was enough as it was. We went very minimal on the decor and everything, just because, again, we felt it was so immersive on its own. And then at the reception, we had a DJ, and he just kind of kept the whole thing going. He even told us at the end of the reception, he was just like, this is the liveliest group of people I've ever worked with at this time of day. We had a brunch reception, and he was just like, yeah, if you guys ever come back out again to Florida, definitely hit me up. I'd be down to like get together because you guys are just so much fun to work with. And it was awesome. Everyone was up dancing. No one had any complaints. Everyone was like, we love the DJ that you have. Yeah, it was great. And everyone, of course, was just obsessed with the view as well.
It's interesting that you guys were able to use the catered menus rather than California Grill's menus because you had to be moved at the last second. Can you talk a bit about what menu items you had and if you can recommend any cake flavors?
Yeah. So my husband and I, we are such foodies, and that was something really important for us to kind of splurge on with the wedding. We not only were we really excited to try all these different food options, we also really wanted to make sure our guests were able to try these. And so we just really wanted to share that with everyone and give everyone like a little taste of all the different food options Disney has to offer. And so we were able to bring in a bunch of different options, which was great. We had the Mickey shaped macaroons. We had 3 flavors. So we had a dozen of each. The first flavor was the birthday cake, the second was strawberry, and then the third was, of course, my favorite, the blackcurrant, which were just amazing. I dream about them daily and can't wait to get my hands on them again. And everyone was just over the moon with them. We had the cake gumball machine, which everyone loved. It was an experience kind of taking out. I will kind of say with the cake gumball machine, we don't have any regrets. We would definitely have it again, I think. But the only thing is, I think it's definitely more so for the experience because there's not like a crazy amount of filling in the cake gumballs. It's mostly kind of the sponge, but you do get a little bit of filling. It's just not a crazy amount. We also had the gray stuff dessert. We were able to kind of get like a chocolate bowl with the gray stuff served in it with a red rose kind of fondant on top, which was awesome. We told the bakery we wanted gray stuff dessert and to just kind of go with it really and kind of do what they wanted as long as there was gray stuff in it. And they delivered fantastically. We also had Mickey waffles. We had lamb chop lollipops, which to die for. The flat iron steak and eggs, the salsa cilantro, which everyone raved about. They could not get enough of it. Even I still remember the taste now, and they were to die for. We also had some breakfast tacos as well, which were amazing. We had a mimosa bar, which everyone loved. We had some potatoes as well that everyone really loved. We had some chicken, which everyone was just kind of baffled with, just with like how well they were cooked. So many people came up to us and they were like, how did they cook this chicken? This is like the best chicken I've ever had in my life. And it was just like the breaded chicken. The breading was perfect, but the chicken on the inside was still just so moist. And it was perfection. With the Mickey waffles, we also had all of the fruit with it too and the whipped cream. We had like a whole station kind of going at the reception, and everyone they couldn't get enough of the food. They loved it so much. And then at the dessert party for our menu, we had the cheeseburger spring roll with the tomato curry dip, Mickey-shaped pretzels with the mustard and warm cheese, black pepper crusted beef strip loin with the assorted rolls and mashed potatoes. We went all out with this dessert party. We also had the Mickey beignets, we had bananas flambe, and we had, all the toppings with that too, the brown sugar, cinnamon, the rum, the hand-dipped vanilla ice cream. Everyone they were over the moon with that. They felt like they were, VIPs getting all of the best service. It was awesome. And then with the fireworks too, everyone was just like, it was amazing. Everyone was just blown away.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about your wedding cake flavors? Did I see you had 2 cakes at the reception?
Yes, we did. There was supposed to be a cake at the dessert party. It was going to kind of be like my own his own cake. And it was going to be Treasure Planet themed. That's like his favorite movie from childhood. We had the actual like Treasure Planet globe kind of on the cake and everything. It was steampunk. It was a Mad Hatter cake and he was so excited for it. And he wasn't there when we showed up for the dessert party, and they just kind of thought that we wanted that cake along with our actual wedding cake at the reception.
Like a groom's cake?
Yeah. But of course, it was a Mad Hatter cake, and there were 3 tiers to it. So 2 big cakes amongst 20 people was kind of a lot. But Disney were able to make it right, and they actually reimbursed us for both cakes, which was really awesome because they knew that a significant amount of the cakes weren't actually going to get eaten, unfortunately. But we still, to this day, we still have the globe that was on the cake, and it's held up really well, even with like a cross-country move that we just did. And my husband still looks at it every single day, and he's like, this is awesome. This is like the best souvenir from the whole wedding. Like, I'm so glad that was the highlight for you.
What flavors did you pick for your 2 cakes?
So for the steampunk Mad Hatter cake, so on the first layer we had red velvet with cream cheese filling, and then on the bottom layer we had chocolate hazelnut crunch, which everyone said was just, it was amazing. It was so good. And then for our main wedding cake, it was a 2-tier cake as well. So for the top layer we had churro cake with the swirled Baileys and raspberry mousse filling, which I cannot recommend that flavor combination enough. It was so good, and I think about it a lot. Again, since we had 2 cakes there, I wasn't able to really kind of dig in as much as I really wanted to, which makes me very upset just because of how good it was. Everyone was just like, wow. You know, kind of hearing this, you would think, oh, that's kind of a weird combination, but everything, like the 3 flavors just complemented each other so well. It was really good. And then on the bottom layer, we also had the Baileys filling, but we also had it with caramel, which, you know, caramel and Baileys, I feel like they just kind of go hand in hand, which overall everyone said it was amazing. They loved it so much. And then with the wedding cake as well, actually, I kind of had this vision of what I wanted the cake to look like. And I made my own design of the cake and everything. And I am by no means an artist or anything. I just kind of sketched it out and I sent it over to the bakery, and they brought the vision to life way better than I could have ever imagined. It was amazing.
That's fantastic. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about your welcome dessert party at UK Lochside? Like if you guys did a ride mix-in?
Yeah, so we really wanted to do a ride mix-in. However, we were informed that just because of the timing of our dessert party, even though we had it scheduled later on in the night too, we were able to get approval for that. They told us we wouldn't be able to have it, which I know I've seen other couples do. So I'm not really sure kind of the reasoning behind that, I guess, was. But it's okay. We still kind of made it work. Everyone was just impressed with the fireworks show. You know, at that time it was still harmonious, and everyone just, they loved it. And honestly, the fireworks show is what really made Josh and I want to have a dessert party. Because when we had gone like a year and a half prior to get engaged, we saw that, and I was kind of getting like some tears to my eyes. I was like, wow, this is such like an amazing, beautiful fireworks show. And just seeing all of like the movies and the animation coming to life with the water kind of going, you know, doing its own show and everything at the same time. It was amazing. And none of our guests had seen that show yet before. And when they did, they were just like, that was amazing. They were just like, how special to have that at something at your wedding. So everyone was just, they were amazed by it, which I'm really happy to hear because that was something that was really important to us.
That's wonderful. Can you give my listeners a timeline of how the wedding day fit together?
Yeah, so we had the welcome dessert party on the 13th, so Monday, March 13th. And then the next day was the ceremony at Pandora. It was after hours. So on the 14th, the ceremony began at about 10:15 p.m. that night. And then we took it really kind of casual with everyone. Since everything just kind of had been a whirlwind and we kind of knew it was going to be that way, we just wanted to kind of like strip things down a little bit and take away kind of like, I guess, the extravagance of a wedding as on top of like a Disney wedding. And we just got pizza and we were able to eat at the food court at All Star Movies until about 4 a.m, which was awesome. I cannot make a guarantee that they will approve that for everyone, but I had called ahead and they were just like, I mean, it's open 24/7. No one's going to kick you out. And when we had gotten back from the wedding, I asked the front desk and they were just like, yeah, like go for it. And even the cleaners came in and they worked around us, which was awesome. And they had a movie going on in the TV and they were just like, is this the movie you want? Do you want anything else? Do you want it switched off? I was just like, no, this is great. Like, thank you so much for asking us, like, which was awesome. And then the next day we had the brunch reception that started at 11 a.m. We did photos beforehand with videography as well. We got there about 9:45, I believe, in the morning, and then we kind of checked out the space. We checked out the cake and everything. And then we just kind of went around the contemporary, taking pictures and everything. Amanda was awesome and got some kind of like motion pictures with the monorail going by, which was super fun. And we were also really lucky, really, really lucky, and is such a highlight for me throughout the whole 3 days. We were able to get pictures taken with Mickey at Chef Mickey's there, and it was awesome. They were so accommodating. We had to get like approval, of course, since we were, in our wedding attire. But Mickey's reaction to seeing me in my dress in that moment was just, I mean, my childhood heart was just, it was so content. It was so happy. Like, Mickey just did the whole expressions of like, wow, look at you. And then when we were getting ready for pictures, he even like fluffed out my dress, which was the most precious thing I think I've ever experienced. It was very special. And I feel extremely lucky to be able to have pictures taken with him. We opted to not have any characters at the wedding because everyone coming were adults, and we just kind of felt that didn't really fit with everyone's interests. And so since that was something that I wanted, but I also kind of knew really none of our other guests would really appreciate that. That was really special to me to still be able to kind of get to experience that.
That's fantastic. Now, when you guys were planning, what were some of the most important aspects where you focused your attention or your budget? You mentioned that food was really important.
Yeah, we really wanted to splurge on the food. I mean, every time we plan a Disney vacation, we're like, okay, where do we want to eat? What, like, are the new, like, seasonal treats out? And so that is just something for us that we just get really excited about every time we go. Um, and so we really wanted to incorporate that, not only for us, but also for our guests too. And then the other part that we really wanted to splurge on were the locations. So we really enjoyed Pandora, of course, and then UK. I'm from England, so it kind of felt like a little piece of home was with me almost. And then California Grill, the castle, we got engaged there. And I mean, it's the castle, you think Disney World, you think the castle. And so it's just like, we had to have that. And to have that view as well, it was amazing. It was well worth the money.
That's wonderful. Were there any aspects that were less important where you maybe saved your money or just your effort?
Yeah, I would definitely say the floral aspect. We didn't have any floral at the dessert party. We just kind of felt that, we really wanted to focus more on the food with that. And that was just everyone's kind of get together too. And then, of course, you have the fireworks show too. So we just kind of felt that people coming in weren't going to pay a lot of attention to those small details that we could have brought in. And then that opened up the budget as well for, of course, the food and like the locations, and then the outside vendors as well coming in. And then at the ceremony, the only thing we had was the Mickey petal swirl at the aisle that we stood in, which actually held up significantly well. We had all of our pictures taken right there, and it didn't really mess up at all until like probably the last few pictures, which even Amanda and Edward were just like, wow, that held up really well just for it being like loose petals. So definitely recommend having one of those. I made my own bouquet. And I traveled with it to kind of cut costs on floral too. So I just kind of went to Hobby Lobby. I picked out a few different flowers that they have there. And then when they were checking me out, the paper that they used to wrap up the fragile items, I just asked them if I could grab like a bunch of that paper. And so I put together the bouquet and everything at home, and then I just wrapped the bouquet up really nicely in that paper, and it just gave it a really nice, soft, kind of protective shell, essentially. And then I packed it into my carry-on bag, and I took it out of the bag once we got to Florida, and it was completely fine. It didn't get squished or anything. And then the reception is kind of where we really dedicated most of our floral budget to. Our theme of the wedding was Beauty and the Beast. Josh is super into, Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm more of kind of, feel like I really just welcomed the whole princessy vibe. And so I thought, well, Beauty and the Beast, that kind of sounds like the best theme for the wedding. Even my engagement ring is, the Disney collection bell ring with like the hidden rose. And so I just really wanted the theme to kind of come together like that. And so we had the rose kind of in the dome glass on our table, which was awesome. However, one thing I didn't know going into it, and I'm not sure if I would have it again. It was really neat to have. I think we could have probably put our money somewhere else though instead of on that. Probably about an hour in, it started to get very just kind of fogged up from all of the condensation, which it does look kind of cool right as it starts doing that, but then we couldn't really see the rose like at all, probably 2 hours into the reception, which we had another 2 hours left of the reception. So half of the reception we couldn't even really see the rose. So that was just kind of like a learning experience, I think, for us with that. And then another thing, we had kind of some branches going with some crystals dangling down, which looked really neat. And then we just had the like glass bowls with the rose floating on top too, which was really neat as well. Everyone thought that was really cool and delicate. So yeah, that was kind of the extent of what we did in floral. We also got the cake cutting set that also went into the floral budget as well, which we really liked too. We felt it was really special to have our names and the date of our wedding engraved on it, along with the Disney weddings.
That's fantastic. Out of all of this, what ended up being your favorite memory of your wedding day?
Probably the reception was probably my favorite, which is very hard to say because the ceremony was, it was amazing too. Just kind of just being around that and walking through the park all by yourself. I think it might be a tie for me. Walking through the park with everyone else gone, that felt so special and unique to me. And it's just like, when am I ever going to get that experience again? And then the reception too, it was so much fun. Everyone came together. Everyone was having so much fun. It was amazing. The dessert party, I'm very glad we had it. I'm not entirely sure if we would do it again, just because a lot of things were the ball was kind of dropped a little bit, a lot with the dessert party that had to get fixed kind of right off the bat. There was just like a lot of communication errors amongst the team. It started off with entry into the park. They initially tried telling us we needed tickets to get in, which of course you don't for a wedding event. But Disney definitely like made it up to us and everything. I just, kind of starting off your wedding events with that, it's not the best start. The fireworks show definitely made up for it though. So yeah, I would probably say kind of walking through Pandora in my dress with the park empty was my favorite, along with the reception.
And was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand or you were worried about and then it turned out not to be?
I was a little bit stressed with weather, but not like too much. Because I kind of looked up, the past history of kind of like the weather patterns and everything of Orlando. I knew going into it that, of course, you can't predict when weather is going to happen. It can change on a dime. Just really making sure that our backup locations were exactly what we wanted, so that if anything did happen with that, we were still going to be very happy with the alternative option as well.
What backup location did they have you down for Pandora?
We got really lucky, actually. They put us down at the Harambe train station. She told us usually they put you at Pizza Safari, and she was just like, that was really, she said it was very unique that we were given the train station. So she was like, that's actually a really nice option to have in case it does rain.
Right, definitely. Do you have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples?
I think just making sure everyone on the team is all on the same page, and also kind of going into it as well. I only saw our planner once throughout the whole 3 days, only for about 5 minutes, and it was at the ceremony, which kind of caught me a little bit off guard. And then I kind of wish that I had spoken to the day of coordinator a little bit more prior to that. We actually had two. We had one for the dessert party and the ceremony, and then we had a different one at the reception. So there were just kind of like a lot of hands in one pot, really, which I think is kind of what triggered some of the miscommunication there. And so I think just kind of going into it, just making sure you know exactly everyone who is on your team is on the same page, which I know people think going into it, they're like, oh, it's Disney, there's a BEO. Things can definitely still be missed. So if there is something that is really important to you, just making sure that everyone is on the same page with it, and just, kind of being that squeaky wheel almost, and just like, hey, this is really important to me. I want to make sure it's done. Kind of like the cake at the dessert party. That was something that was really important to us. And everyone always says if it's on the BEO, it will get done. Unfortunately for us, that wasn't the case. And so I think there's no harm, especially with a wedding, making sure that the things that are really important to you are just being expressed that way to everyone on the team.
Got it. Okay. Well, Hayley, I think you've offered a lot of great tips and advice for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal at Walt Disney World, and I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you. It was really fun talking about it.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.